How are you guys? Just a quick update on my Airfix 138 scale Bf109 E-4 build. I began weathering the model and I am mildly tripping balls from using oils for most of the afternoon. The fumes from the turpentine are beginning to kick in a little bit, so before I keel over and probably die, I'm just going to do a quick video on what I've been up to and what I'm doing. So I have everything laid out that I'm actually using, and as you can see there's quite a bit of weathering products. I'm using various oils, colours and washes that I've accumulated that I intend to use on this aircraft. So what I've been doing up until now is I'll bring your attention to the yellow elements of the aircraft, especially the cowling. I've been putting in what I would call very messy, well, intentionally messy panel washes, and I've been using Meigs 502 Octolong Shadow Brown, very good colour. I use this in almost every build. It's worth its weight in gold. I really recommend the Meigs 502 oils. Very high quality and probably a lot more reasonably priced than the higher quality oils on the market. Especially if you go into an art shop like Winsor & Newton's are quite expensive. So what have I been doing? Well, I've been just adding panel line washes to the entire model. I've yet to do the underside or the panel lines on the fuselage here. So what I normally just do is I apply them, especially to the yellow areas. I've been really unhappy with how the yellow paint came out. Just for the fact being is that due to the opaque nature of yellow, it required several layers to be built up over time, and I more or less lost all my pre-shading. And at the point I was getting a bit worried that if I start trying to do post and highlighting panel fading on the yellow, I'd end up overworking it and run the risk of ruining it. So in order to bring a little bit more life back into it and make it less dull, I've firstly I've added quite a few chips to it. A little bit hard to see with all the oil work I've done. Okay, I'm just going to tip it down again. A little bit hard to see because the entire model is gloss coated, so it's bouncing the light back into the camera. But I applied a little bit of chipping to the aircraft, not too much because I'm still learning how best to go about chipping an aircraft. You know, weathering. If you go in too lightly, it's not noticeable, and if it's too heavy, it just overpowers the model. So for my chipping, I used the colour I use for all my chipping, regardless of what I'm building. I used Vallejo model colour German Camo Black Brown, reference number 822, and I just applied that with a small bit of sponge. No, just apply a little bit to the edge of the sponge. You can whip it up, make it irregular shapes, bang 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 bang, there you go, off you go. And just apply that to areas I felt would get a little bit of wear and tear from air crew and ground crew basically entering the aircraft and servicing the aircraft on the ground. And I intentionally focused quite a bit on the yellow and the wingtips. A lot of it's lost because of the way I've done the oils, to make it look like it's streaking and grind, because again this aircraft, before it was brought down on September 20th, before this aircraft was brought down, and I can't switch off my compressor. It would be nice if it let me. There we go. Bloody hell, compressor goes every time. If it's not my phone, it's my compressor. Before this aircraft was brought down, it was doing combat operations, so I kind of want to show this aircraft quite grimy. I'm taking a bit of artistic license, of course, but I want this aircraft to look battle worn. So I've built up the grime, especially on the yellow parts, because it shows the most. Again, the camera's not picking up all of it, but you can kind of see how I've done panel lines. And then what I did was I allowed it to be a little bit excessive, and then I pulled it back using a cotton bud or a Q-tip with a bit of turpentine, and pulled it back to show kind of grime being pulled by the airflow of the aircraft as it passes through the sky. Also, I've yet to apply some more darker pigments, or not so much pigments but oils, mostly lamp black, maybe mixed with a little bit of burnt umber to show a little bit of oil and grease, because bear in mind this is the engine cowling after all, so this will be a little bit messy. But back to the chipping, I kind of focused on this area and on the wing tips, and in some very refined areas I went in with model air should I say, 70.065, which is their steel, and just exposed some of the steel of the aircraft. Most noticeably here, you can kind of see how it's picking up in the light. That's kind of to simulate the air crew hopping on and off the aircraft, and same with ground crew, and to a lesser degree on the other side. The plan now is to continue doing the panel washes now that I've done most of the chipping. And if this is a desert aircraft, like a tropical operating with the Aquacore, I will weather this to the balls and back. And I do intend to do some Aquacore themed models, both ground and air, so we will be revisiting that in a later date. But I do plan to, God, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm going to blame the spirits. The plan is to continue doing panel lines. There's only so much you can do before you start losing your mind with this. Continue doing them. I've yet to do the underside of the aircraft. I've yet to do some post shading as well, especially around this part of the aircraft, and I've yet to weather up the landing gear bays. So once the panel lines are done and cleaned up to a degree I'm happy with, I'm going to gloss coat again the entire model, and then the second round of oils will go, and that's actually I'm going to do basically a dot filter on them. And the reason for doing the dot filter, especially on the vertical elements of the fuselage, is because, well, it's a bit dull. I want us to add a little bit of panel fading, and just it will be very light, almost on the same air as a filter. Well, it is called a dot filter for a reason, sorry. That just occurred to me, good man. But the whole idea is I just want to add a little bit more depth, especially to the fuselage sides, because a lot of the pre-shading and post-shading you can't fucking see, especially because of the RLM freehand camo kind of model scheme it has. And then I'll do a little bit of panel fading with oils on the upper surfaces, basically on the control surfaces, and on the yellow, just to kind of to lighten it up a little bit. Once that's done, I have some earth and dust effects that'll go into the to the landing bay, or basically the under gear and the landing beat. Once that's done, we'll start adding in gun streaks and exhaust streaks, which I'm going to use a mixture of paints and pigments. I have some Humbrol black soot powder, and I'll probably do a little bit of grey as well, kind of airbrush, and then come in with the soot. And that would probably be it. I'm almost there now, and I'm pretty happy with this aircraft. It's turned into a very fun build. The decals all went down very nicely, which I forgot to mention. You might recall in the first or the last update for this video, I was saying I had some issues with the walk lines here, the guidelines, that they silvered. I managed to get the silvering out with a couple of layers of gloss varnish. Just built it up over 3 or 4 layers, and it disappeared, which is good. That was a relief, because I was going to kind of be make or break for the model. I'm still a bit worried about removing the masks, but we'll see what happens. And then I've yet to obviously add the antenna and the Piot, or the pilot tube is called. And that's really it then. So we're almost there. We're about 75% of the way there. And I'm just kind of testing out some stuff here before I really began the heavy duty work with the Lancaster and the Junkers 88. So this is kind of my guinea pig. I've also found another ME-109 that I really want to make from the Battle of Britain, because this is also a Battle of Britain bird, as I've mentioned a few times. But the aircraft I'm looking at has a white cowling and white tips on the wing. It looks awesome. I really want to get my hands on, well, I can get my hands on these kits. I just have to figure out what E variant it is. So that'll be something I would really like to try in the future. But anyway, so that's what I'm working on. I really hope you like it. I have a few photographs that I'll try to put into this video to give you a better look see. So thanks for watching. Happy modelling, and watch out for those buses.